I've got the story, right, from the news, but I actually feel like this community, wants to hear from these guys in more detail than just the 30-second snippet on the news. So let's have a look at this. The Greens held a press conference today with the families of the 3 New Zealanders being illegally detained, who were abducted by pirates. Remember, international waters don't have jurisdiction in international waters. You are a pirate. And let's have a look at what happened. So it started off pretty cool, actually. It started off with the sort of opening statement.
Marire. My prayer this morning is that although we are the furthest nation from the genocide happening in Gaza, our voices will be heard. My prayer this morning is that the people of America who support the genocide in Gaza will remember the words of Martin Luther King and rise up and be true to their creed, that all men and women are equal. My prayer this morning is that the soldiers of Israel will remember that the hatred in their hearts they were not born with.
Yo.
My prayer is that the people of Jerusalem will remember that when Salah ad-Din ruled Jerusalem, no Jewish people were hurt. That was the result. That was the role of the Crusaders who came from Europe. My prayer is for peace and the end of this genocide. Pai marire.
Succinct, to the point. Can't get much wrong with that. People spoke. Now, there's probably going to be some people who go, the New Zealanders of Palestinian origin, we should be showing them. Maybe we'll show everyone through the week. I'm choosing to show 80. We have a connection to 80. One of 80's first points is Sam wanted to make sure that the focus is on the Palestinian New Zealanders. So I know we're kind of not doing that, but yeah, I listened to all 3 of them. They're all amazing. We don't have time to play all 3 of them right now, so we're going to choose to play 80's one, and it's like 5.5, nearly 6 minutes, and I think it's worth watching it all because he talks about Sam. There is a part of this as well which the media isn't quite yet picked up on yet, and that is that the New Zealanders are currently being tortured. 80 said to me on Saturday night that they're being forced to kneel for up to 5 hours at a time on concrete floors. They're zip-tied and they've got their hands behind their backs. They're zip-tied. They're allowed no water, and they've got no bathroom breaks. And 80 said that to me, and I went, 80, that's torture. And he went, yeah, it's worse than that because, and there's probably footage out there that you could look for pretty easily, Chewie, that the defense minister or someone from the Israeli government is coming in and screaming at them all, calling them all terrorists, walking amongst them, torturing them in a verbal way as well. So yeah, it's pretty shocking. But here's 80's words today from this stand-up.
Kia ora te whānau. Ko Samuel Leason toka wingua, representing my wife Shelley and Samuel's brothers and sisters. Samuel's one of 8 children, and he grew up in Otaki, a little village north of Wellington. He's been raised on a farm, grew up milking a cow, grew up playing in a piece of paradise. He has had a formation from his kaumatua in our village and from his Catholic faith. He is a young man who is full of compassion. The last thing Samuel said on our communications when he was still at sea was, please keep the focus on Youssef and Rana. When Palestinians come into Israeli jails, they suffer a great deal. Please keep the focus and the eyes of the country on them. I am very worried about Samuel as he sits in a cell right now, in a cage, crammed in with many other people. He probably has injuries.
So sorry to interrupt him, but just so you know, and this has been broadcast by other media outlets, but 80 told me this on Saturday night. You can go back and have a look at that interview. I apologise about the audio quality for the interview from Saturday night. We had to go with what we had. New Zealanders don't have a consulate in the region, but the English or the British got into the prison. And when the British got in, they had the ability to go around all the Commonwealth detainees. So the British got to Samuel, and that's where 80's getting this information from. He doesn't say it in this. I know it's been well publicised now. We did it on Saturday. That the message that Sam had for his mum was he wanted nachos for dinner when he came home. But all the information that he's now saying is from whatever the equivalent of MFAT in the UK is, from them to our MFAT to 80. So it's a pretty reliable source. And one of the things I am seeing online today when I've put clips up is people just saying, no, that's not true. To which I've gone, well, here's my line for my statement. Where does your nuh-uh come from? And then they obviously don't respond because they don't have a response to nuh-uh. So this stuff that 80 is talking about now, that's where the information's come from. That's how he knows.
Crammed in with many other people. He probably has injuries on his wrists from being zip-tied. He has been without water and legal representation. What I'm really worried about is Samuel having his heart broken. He has got so close, they've all got so close to that beach, and all of those supplies that they have been carrying and organising for all these many weeks got so close, and now they've all been spoiled, they've all been taken. And I think Samuel was, I'm so worried for him because I know his heart, I know my son, and his heart will be breaking because he failed. He failed. The ships didn't land and the supplies didn't get through. He spent the early part of this year with 3,000 other ordinary people trying to walk across the Sinai Desert, carrying milk powder, carrying supplies. Day after day, they tried to get across that desert and got turned back again and again, and they failed. And so he's sitting there now, and he's looking at the wreckage of all his efforts, and I'm worried he's heartbroken. I'm also worried that he's heartbroken because the country that he loves, he is ashamed. He is ashamed of his leaders. He is ashamed of his country when faced with the choice of supporting the Palestinians in the middle of a genocide and a starvation and amongst all these war crimes, our government is choosing to support and offer comfort and legitimacy to the Zionist regime. Our government is choosing the nation of Israel over the most vulnerable and persecuted people in the region. And I think that is going to be heartbreaking for Samuel. And he has to come back, and he has to come back to his home, and he won't know it, he can't recognise it, because this is not the country he thought he belonged to. And I fear for that. A heartbreak is a very difficult thing to heal. Not long ago, I don't think he knew how to spell the word genocide. And now he's in a position to school our leaders on the subject. Our leaders who have no idea, who willingly refuse to accept what we're all seeing on our television screens night after night. The heartbreaking images of a nation that has suffered the explosives equivalent to 2 atomic bombs. It has been annihilated, and our country's leaders are looking the other way. I'm worried for Samuel. I don't know how Israel comes back from. How do you come back from genocide? All I know is what we can do, and we can call on our government to stop associating, stop sporting cultural or business ties with this regime. This regime is a pariah, it's a killer, it's a breaker of all international laws, and it is a rogue state. We've been told for so many years that Israel is a beacon of light. Now it is a beacon of genocide.
I want to apologise for things that I genuinely got wrong.
It is a beacon of war crimes and mass murder. And it needs to be called out, it needs to be shamed, and it needs to find a way back. Israel has repented in the past. They've got a long story of repenting from all of their failures. That is the future that they have ahead of them. But we have to play our part, and our part is to be strong and stand firm with the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza and all of the thousands illegally locked up in jails. I ask that Samuel can come home as quickly as possible to be reunited with all his family. We miss him so much, and we pray for his safety along with the safety of Youssef and Rana and all of the participants in the Sumud flotilla.
So there you go. I mean, there was no need to interrupt that.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me just say something as well. I don't have the audio or the video for it, but I was watching Hassan Abi in the weekend, and he quoted Omar Alakad. I don't know too much about Omar. I'm going to go and do a bit of research. I think he's an academic in the region, and this is what Omar said. He said, "One day we will all have been against this. One day," and it's a little bit like. Try and find someone in the public realm today who says, yeah, I was for South Africa in the 1981 Springbok tour because they were on the wrong side of history. Today, we are all against what the ideas were of 1981, even though we know that it sort of split the country in two. So you're of adult age in 1981, you had a 50% chance of being on the wrong side of history, give or take. But as this, and I'm saying academic, I'm sorry if that's not the right word, but as Omar has said, and I'll say it again, one day we will all have been against this. One day. I just think that's a fascinating conversation. There is other bits that I want to play, Chewie, but I've had the privilege of spending a fair amount of personal time with 80 in the years gone by, so I'll give you the response to this if you want it.
My whole thing with the flotilla is I've seen comments of, oh, they shouldn't have gone, they should have known what was going to happen because it happened last time. What did they think that they were going to change? It's all hopeless, all of that sort of stuff. I will always stand with people that look at those things, look at their chance of success and go, it is still worth trying. All of these people that participated in the flotilla, especially this one, you know, Israel was very clear that if they came back again, it would be worse. And that is what's happened. There's reports of how Greta Thunberg especially has been treated. The things that the Israelis have done does come under the umbrella of torture. And I think it is very pertinent to say whatever the flotilla members had to go with, and they will be the first to agree with me here, whatever they went through is just the merest taste of what Palestinian hostages, prisoners, abductees under the Israeli regime have put up with. We know that there is torture. We know that there is starvation. We know that there is sexual assault. That has all been shown and brought out into the light by Israeli whistleblowers and survivors. But these guys did it anyway.
Yeah.
They decided that to sit here and maybe go to the protest or put something online or even email our representatives and say we're not doing enough was not enough for them. They decided to risk it because it was worth it. They recognise things that our foreign minister and our government apparently can't recognise.
So let me give you some background. So 80 works in this education system. It's not a kohanga, but it's something akin to it. And one of the things they do is everyone who graduates it ends up graduating it with a tiny home, because a part of their education is they teach building skills and stuff. And so when they all get done, they graduate and they have a tiny home at the end of their graduation. Obviously, that goes on through 80 and his family, because my understanding is Sam had a tiny home and he sold it to do some fun things. And he was in Morocco at the time. He was basically doing a bunch of stuff in Morocco, you know, not just holidaying, doing stuff that you would expect someone to be on the flotilla to do. And he got the call while he was in Morocco to come to, no, that's not true, sorry. He saw that this flotilla was happening. No, that's not true either. 80 said it there for a second. There was a group of them that were trying to traverse across the desert with milk powder, and they keep getting turned back. They were trying to go, is it the Rafah Gate, the one in the south by Egypt?
Yeah.
They were trying to go to there and deliver milk powder, and they keep getting knocked back and knocked back and knocked back. And then I think he heard about the flotilla, and he applied for it. And he put as his references Nikki Hagar and John Minto, because 30,000 people applied. 30,000 people applied to be on this flotilla. And apparently John Minto and Nikki Hagar were both contacted and said, tell us about Sam. And they gave him the thumbs up, and he got on the flotilla. And so that's his story, how he went there. It wasn't like this will be a bit of fun. He was off in the world doing things. And then he had to go through a pretty stringent selection process. And he got speaking of Mr. Luxon and go and get a job, he got the job to be on the flotilla, and he was on the flotilla, and this is where they're at now. Let's play the next part of this, and the next part of this is actually just Chloe's message. And I'm going to play two parts of Chloe's message. One is this part here where she delivers a smackdown like the likes of which are rarely seen, because what she does is just constantly comes back to what is legal and what is illegal, who was committing crimes, who was not committing crimes, and then links it back to how can the government not be doing more for the victim of criminal activity, who is obviously Sam and his two counterparts, the three New Zealanders. They're the victims of crime. They didn't break any laws. And then there's another bit I want to put at the end, because there are some words at the end of this, like last 30 seconds, which are, when I say are chilling, I don't mean like, it sounds a bit bad. It's like the ramifications of the movement that's coming together now, and the words that Chloe uses at the end, not of this first clip, but I'll play it for you. The word that she uses at the end is like, it's a whatever the word is, Chewie, in a war where you do the cry, a cry for action. And that's what it felt like to me, so I'll play that as well. But let's do the first. This is Chloe's whole statement. Like I said, I'm not going to play the TV NZ or TV3 version because you don't get it all. I want us to have it all. So this is Chloe's 3-minute statement at the end of the family speaking.
Israel has illegally kidnapped citizens who were sailing on international waters to break an illegal blockade on people being subjected to a genocide. Rana, Youssef and Samuel did not have to do this. The hundreds of people on the flotilla did not have to do this. But they are doing what governments across the world are refusing to currently do, what tens of thousands of New Zealanders have taken to the streets calling for action on, and what millions worldwide are mobilising for. They were doing their bit to try and stop a genocide. They are trying to build a world in which our humanity actually means something. I just want to spell this out as clearly as possible. Israel has illegally abducted civilians who were trying to deliver food and supplies to civilians being illegally starved and murdered under illegal blockade. I emphasise this point of illegality because Luxon's government says that they want to be tough on crime.
Hello.
Rana, Youssef and Samuel were operating entirely legally. Israel is not. Our government has a legal obligation to prevent genocide. It is presently washing its hands of that obligation. These whānau and the community have today, this morning, spelled out their demands for Luxon's government to tell us the plan to safely return Youssef, Rana and Samuel. Secondly, to explicitly condemn the illegal interception of the Sumud flotilla. And thirdly, to sanction Israel for its war crimes. Luxon, Seymour and Peters are proving that they would not have been the leaders of this country who chose to stand against apartheid South Africa.
Yep.
They would not have stood against the French and then the United States when it came to a nuclear-free Pacific.
Yep.
But this here, right now, this moment, is an opportunity to correct that course and to do the right thing. If they do not, their backbenchers have the power to. All 68 government MPs are personally, individually responsible for whether the bill to sanction Israel progresses or does not. To make that clear, they are presently actively enabling or disabling those sanctions on Israel. We need just 6 of 68 government MPs to sign their support, and we get that bill onto the floor of the House. We are demanding that the government does everything in its power to make clear how it will return these 3 New Zealanders who have been illegally kidnapped from international waters, and we call on the government to sanction Israel for its war crimes. We are happy to take any questions on this kaupapa.
Said it before and I'll say it again. Masterful communicator. There is no wiggle room in her words. There is nothing that you can misunderstand. It is all right there.
Yeah, and let's just do this super quick. And I think the kids played this one Friday night as well. This is Winston Peters, the day of the flotilla being illegally intercepted in international waters by pirates and kidnapped.
They're not being abducted. They're not being kidnapped. They'll be put on a plane and sent home. And the question you've got to ask yourself is, what was the cost of all that?
So, of course, and as I said to you earlier, Chewie, the cesspit that is Twitter, anything you put up about this goes bananas. But funnily enough, I'll just do a refresh actually to see if it's been hit at all. Anything else? Oh yeah, there's a few comments here now, so fair enough. But the response is things like, fuck around and find out. It's pretty cut and dry, idiot. Yeah. Sorry, Pat, under the San Remo manual on. Yeah. So to end the debate on the abducted flotilla global Sumud members, abduct, to take someone away by force or deception, kidnap. Arrest, to seize someone by legal authority and take them into custody. There was no crime, and the flotilla was in international waters where Israel had no legal authority. It's pretty cut and dry. Now, Winston, they'll be put on a plane and sent home. And then we have to ask ourselves, how much has this cost? Well, it's cost you fucking nothing. That's not how it works. But they haven't been put on a plane and sent home. They are currently, as we're being told by the British diplomatic teams that have been in an Israeli prison, being tortured. And as Sam has pointed out to his family, the hostages, funny actually, that word would come out like that, Chewie. Funnily enough, actually, it probably makes complete sense. We've been talking about hostages for the last 2 years. The hostages that Israel currently has of Palestinian descent are far more likely to suffer harm and stuff in those prisons. So if they're doing that to Sam, one can only imagine what's happening to the New Zealanders of Palestinian origin or ancestry. I've got one more clip, which is that call to action, which I'll do at the end of this, Chewie, but you first, brother.
Yeah, like Winston's worried about the price, and ignoring a genocide is always free until it's not.
No cost there. No cost to a genocide. No cost to a genocide. Let's do this. This is Chloe at the end. This is the last part, and you'll get the advertising come up over the top of it because it happens. Chloe is asked by a reporter, who are the 6 MPs? Will you release their names? The MPs from government who are willing to support yours. Will you release their names? Now, obviously, you know what the answer is going to be, but there's a point at the very end of this, like the last 30 seconds. And if I have to point it out again, I will. But the steely determination and the encouragement that people who support this this part of the political world should take from these words. Know that these people at the pointy end of the political world are agreeing with you and are on your side, and they want to join with you to get this thing sorted out. Here we go. So remember, will you say the people who have shown you, that they would come across?
Yeah, I am really conscious of naming those MPs who are showcasing explicitly in these conversations that they do have a conscience and they may potentially be willing, because it makes them a target. And I think that probably exposes some of the big issues that we have with, our democracy at present, that we have this incredibly whipped, normalised way of operating with politicians not able to engage in broader conversations across party lines. So unfortunately, I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm not going to tell you the names of those MPs who are currently open to crossing the floor, because I think doing so would make them targets in the eyes of their leadership, and I do not think that is fair. But I would reiterate the call for New Zealanders who may be tuned into this to know that what they are doing is working by scheduling those meetings with their MPs and sitting face to face and talking through these issues with them. The excuses are whittling away. We know this because I get forwarded them every other day. We are seeing that those MPs no longer have a leg to stand on, and they are aware that a reckoning is coming.
Any numbers, though?
Look, we would have the numbers if these MPs were not terrified of losing their jobs or their positions. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A reckoning, Chewie. A reckoning is coming. And what you're seeing Chloe say about these MPs is what we've been seeing about the rest of the world, media personalities, is that they get to, like we said this last week to Chippy, I think it was day 10 that the first hospital was bombed. It was too far then. They had is it leap the Rubicon, whatever that is, they jumped the shark on day 10 when they bombed a hospital. So obviously 2 years into it, it's too far. But for some people, it's taken them a year and 8 months, a year and 10 months, a year and 11 months to go finally too much. For whatever reason, good or bad. Well, no good in it. For whatever reason, bad. But Chloe is saying your local MPs are running out of excuses and a reckoning is coming. And those words fill me with an enthusiasm to continue this on, which is why we just heard about 10 minutes of audio video rather than the 2-minute news story. Because I think we all need to be aware that a reckoning is coming and you can be as involved as you want to be. You may not be able to be literally standing in Gaza. I do actually have another video. I just remember I've got one more video to show. But in New Zealand, there are things you can do because a reckoning is coming. You got anything to add to it? Because I've got a really important video to play that I forgot about, but it still fits in with this right now.
Yeah, play it.
So I did this in the weekend with my wife. We know we've seen this before. I'm not going to show this. This sometimes gets us demonetized and stuff. That's right. The $12 can go elsewhere. I was searching up Gaza drone. We know the footage. We're not going to watch it again. We're not going to watch it again for a certain reason. When I Googled, look on YouTube, Gaza drone, I got another video that popped up. We'll spend 60 seconds having a look at Gaza 6 years ago.
What's going on, shababs? We're here about my favorite ornament in the whole city. I love Gaza. Obviously, if you've seen Gaza in the headlines, it's all about wars, a year-long massacre, and a siege. But it's not all doom and gloom here in Gaza. We're spending the day to show you the best 5 things to do and the best 5 places to go.
We don't really need to hear the thing. I just want you to look. I just want you to have a look at Gaza.
Oh, look, it's
6 years ago.
Skyline.
But I sat there and watched this and I was like,
every single one of those buildings, every single high rise, the mosques, the parks, the hospitals, they're all gone. All of them.
After that, we got stuck in a bit of a rabbit hole and we went on to Google Earth, and you can see where this is now gone. This mosque is right by the water. Everything's gone. But it's worth just looking at, whānau, and go that this is Gaza. The other thing that my wife pointed out, which I thought was a really interesting point, which I hadn't thought of. Do you know what's missing in those drone footages of the rubble, Chewie? Greenery.
Oh yeah.
There's no trees. There's no trees. There's no grass. Well, yeah, grass is under the rubble, but all the trees are gone. There's no trees. That's what they've done. They've not only bombed the buildings, they've not only bombed the hospitals, they've not only then sent soldiers into the hospitals to destroy any leftover equipment, they've not only killed likely hundreds of thousands of people, but they've killed fucking everything. There's no trees. This is the university. This is where he's sitting right now. And obviously 6 years ago.
Gone.
Yeah, university's
the
gone.
library. So this was a key part of it. It's like when you're talking about a genocide, it's very easy to focus on the human cost and the actual people being killed. But a big chunk of a true genocide is the erasure of that people's history, culture, records, achievements, monuments. You're trying to scrub a people away. And when they talked about hospital records, civil records, the library of the university in Gaza being burned, for me at that point, I was like, this is a systemic genocide. They know exactly what they're doing.
It's the British war cemetery. And it's just, we've seen that other video, numerous times, but I was almost more shocked to see this video because this was 6 years ago. It's just unfathomable what's happened. Here we go at the end. It's a city. It's a city with buildings and shit. Now, as we've showed you numerous times, as far as the eye can see, is rubble, quite literally. Whereas perhaps on a day gone by, that could be Miami. It's gorgeous. Not saying that there's nothing wrong, never been anything wrong. Everything was fine, everything there's happening good. But that was 6 years ago.
That's what they want. It's good beachside property.
And
it's like this is what it's going to be. Like, it frustrates me. There is, what's the guy's name?
We've said this before. That's where the bomb landed, right? Literally right there, literally the crater where the bomb landed. And like I said, just have a look at those wide shots. You find me some greenery. Yeah. I was more than taken aback, so I wanted to include that in our conversation tonight about those Gazan families, the New Zealand families, Palestinian origins, Kiwi boys as well, standing up for Gaza and what was. And I'll say this again, not to belabor this point here, but a 4-story building. Think about a 4-story building. A 4-story building, 5-story building, that might take 2 years to build a 4-story building. What if you've got 10,000 of them to build? I mean, honestly, how can that ever, ever, ever be lived in again? How can someone live there ever again? What if you've got 5,000 4-story buildings and 100,000 2-story buildings to build? And at one stage, just a mere 6 years ago, which probably also means 4 and 5 and 3 years ago, it looked like that.
Now, at that time, Gaza was still under blockade, or was some sort of blockade and heavy restrictions from Israel, right? Everything that was built there had to come in. All the construction equipment, concrete, all of that sort of stuff had to get through the Israeli perimeter. All of that effort. And it's all gone. It is easier to destroy than it is to build in every case.
Mm.
And they have systemically gone through building every hospital. Remember the first hospital? And they're like, oh, it's a mistake.
Where the missiles come from? We think they're Hamas missiles.
Who would, there's justification. Now they don't even bother. Don't even bother. Look, what I was trying to think of, like, is some people will know this artist. There's a musician called Jesse Wells, who is very, very good. Reminds me of a modern Bob Dylan almost. But he has a song called War Isn't Murder. And it's a great song, and I urge people to go out and give it a look if you're not familiar with it. But there is a verse in that stuck out when I first heard it. If war isn't murder and good men don't die, so in a short 20 years when you vacation the strip, don't think about the dead, have a nice trip. And that I think is the aim. Israel want the land, people want to develop it. It's prime beachside real estate, and how much has to be built on top of that, those bodies, those bone fragments, absolute years of horror before you can maybe have a nice afternoon on the beach and not be haunted for the rest of your fucking lives.